back. This is my reflection for week 3 for R685. Again, we've been talking this past week, had a very interesting online forum and discussion about the explosion of ebooks. And this week, I thought it'd be much more interesting rather than just me talking. I've got one of my good friends here, Matt Snyder, to join in, give some opinions, and have a little discussion here. Matt is actually, he's just finishing his master's right now in human-computer interaction, has a background in graphic design as well, and kind of doing some research, some projects right now with regards to ebooks. So thought it might be interesting just to kind of talk about a couple things here, and we'll get Matt to give his opinions and see what we think. But the first question, I guess, just basically is talking about ebooks versus traditional books. What do you see as some of the advantages and disadvantages?
I think it depends on kind of your worldview, and so if you love books and you love some people like the smell of books and
the feel of books,
and the meaning of books, then and I could go on for 20 minutes about that. Then I think that the Kindle falls short of the things that make up a book reading experience. So I think it depends on your point of view what advantages and disadvantages are. I think if you asked about features from someone who to them reading a book means going to Barnes and Noble and walking up and down aisles and smelling the smell of coffee and seeing posters of bestsellers and things on sale, then this becomes a disadvantage.
Sure.
Because this is the book becomes part of the experiences surrounding and leading up to this make up part of the experience of reading. So I think if you look at it from an experiential point of view, and you try to explain book reading using semiotics and phenomenology, then reading a book has to be more than text on a page, which the Kindle, I see the Kindle being is just text on a page. So I think it just depends.
Okay, well, that kind of leads into something I wanted to touch on. Last week we had kind of a little email conversation going back and forth, and one of the things you said, I want to read just kind of a little quote here from one of the things you said, and then ask you to maybe expand a little bit on it. I don't remember the exact question, but I asked you just kind of what you thought about ebooks. And you said, I think e-readers think that reading is just words on a page. They are creating digital books. I'm doing my research paper on this. And anyways, the point of e-readers has been to replace traditional reading materials. Sadly, they've missed the boat. What do you mean by that, where you say they've missed the boat? Or you talked about this words on a page. What do you mean by that?
I think it gets back to the previous concept, which is how you look at books. Then whenever you take a technology, and this is considered technology. Sure. And you go to a new technology, like you can't just cut and paste this into this and think it's going to be the same thing. Saying that they've missed the boat, I think, from a usability point of view and from a phenomenological point of view, that this falls short. And again, it depends on, I think, your world point of view. So this book that I pulled off of my bookshelf, it smells old. It doesn't have a perfect binding. The edges are rough. Like when I was a kid, my dad used to collect the paperback versions of these books, and I read them when I was a teenager. And so when I found this hardbound book, like it's not just words on a page by an author, but it like reminds me of this memory of being young and reading these adventurous books about being on the sea and fighting, fighting on the sea. So this contains that for me, and this doesn't. And
sure.
And simply the fact that this has an on-off button, and you start mixing meanings from culture and society, this is going to be different. Like there's, I don't know. I think you have to acknowledge that it's different,
sure,
and that some things will be lost.
All right, so we're running out of time here, but I want to ask you one final question. If you could design an ebook reader or a device or a software program, you know, what would you want it to do? Do you have any ideas on how you'd want to capture some of those experiential qualities from a book that you think many of the current devices are missing?
Yeah, I think books are individual. They have part of a book when you're not reading it is the placement of it, and so you have a spine with information on it. Again, I've been focused on the materialistic qualities of this, and when this holds 1,000 books, you lose the spine and you lose the jacket and the cover.
You're saying this is spineless technology? Huh?
Spineless, yeah. Maybe right. I do think, though, that, again, I think it's foolish to think that this needs to be as authentic as this. If you want this, read a book.
Right.
But I think you could endow properties of this into this that made it more pleasurable, where you little touches of thinking that people would find joy in, and the experience of using this isn't home and menu. It's they find pieces of this. For example, when I turn this off, the image of that is placed on the screen of the Kindle is usually artwork or an illustration of an author that isn't one that I have in my Kindle, or it's not the one that I'm reading. So one idea I had was, when I turn this off, why doesn't the cover or the jacket, something that represents this, why isn't that the last thing that's on my screen? So
yeah,
when I come back to this, it's not, if I'm reading Alistair MacLean, I don't come back to, what's another one out there? Upton Sinclair.
I would say Harry Potter, but J.K. Rowling won't let her books beyond this, so yeah, we won't go there.
If I'm reading Alistair MacLean, and when I come back to this, it's Upton Sinclair, like, that's a break in the experience of reading a book. Like,
right.
You wouldn't open this and be like, what? How come this isn't the book with the jacket? So, I think understanding that, though, in a way, you can't find it in a technological point of view. Like, you won't find those ideas if you're concerned about the gigabytes and access and downloading till the sky falls. I mean, you have to make sense of this using frameworks and understandings that are very humanistic. And so something as simple as having on the screen the artwork of the last thing I read would begin to endow this with properties of reading. So.
Great. Well, I think that and one of the things we talked a lot about that I think that people are just starting to understand is that we don't need to design a book for this the same way that you design a book for this. You know, so certainly there's, you know, a lot of these things that we need to have this change of mindset in developing ebooks, because it doesn't need to just be, like, you know, as you said, just text on a page. There can be other things involved with that. So anyway, Matt, I appreciate your time. Hopefully this has been interesting for you to watch and to hear kind of some different perspectives on ebooks. So we'll go ahead and pause from here, but join me again next week and we'll talk to you later. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.